and we need to vote those people out of office for their corruption. It really just boggles my mind. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. Healthcare should be a right. So hopefully we're able to pass that type of food assistance in the budget. That's part of the fight that's going on right now. The bills that we see, Republicans actually act on are bills that benefit billionaires and the wealthiest Arizonans. I continue to press them and to ask them to please do the right thing by Arizona families. That's really what it's going to take, as well as continued protests, continued strikes, the people coming together to say we're not going to accept this.
Seguidores de Prensa Arizona, bienvenidos a su podcast. Les habla y les saluda su servidor y amigo Oscar Ramos. Hoy vamos a estar hablando de un tema que es muy importante para nuestra comunidad, pues que es lo que se está moviendo en la legislatura estatal. En este momento, pues se están llevando a cabo las negociaciones del presupuesto para el próximo año, pero pues dentro de todo eso hay muchísimo que sucede en las cámaras de Arizona, que a veces no nos damos cuenta. Y para platicar al respecto, hoy le damos la bienvenida a la senadora por el Distrito 24, ¿verdad? 24th, Analise Ortiz. Bienvenida, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, tell us about this budget fight between the governor and the legislature. What is the most important thing to get by in this budget?
Well, we have a really important education funding measure called Proposition 123 that expires, and we need to send it to the voters so they can approve it, so it can continue funding our local public schools. And unfortunately, Republicans in the legislature said they were not going to support this measure. So Governor Hobbs said she's going to veto every single bill that comes to her desk until they get serious about renewing the education funding and just putting forward a strong budget. Republicans put forward a budget just this week, and it does not have the compromises that Governor Hobbs and the Democrats are asking for. It does not have the education funding, and it includes a lot of big tax breaks for billionaires and corporations, which we do not want to see. We want to see policies that will make life more affordable for Arizonans.
So talking about education, there's another aspect of this controversy with the ESA vouchers, which Republicans try to keep, even though it's costing a lot to the budget. So any changes on that?
Yes, so this school voucher program, the ESAs, it allows any family, no matter how much money they might make, to take their kid out of public school and then get a $1,000 coupon from the government to send their kid to private school, religious school, or to homeschool them. And the majority of the people taking advantage of this program are wealthy families who were already in private schools. So Governor Hobbs proposed some very common sense measures to put an income cap on who can apply for these vouchers. And the Republicans have absolutely dug their heels in the sand and said, no, they do not want an income cap. They don't even want oversight where the government can be looking at what people are spending the money on if it's under $2,000. Right now, the Department of Education is not looking at how people are spending that money. And the news media had to uncover that people were fraudulently using the money on things like lingerie, diamond rings, and ski resorts. It's really crazy. So Republicans don't want to solve this through the legislature because they are okay with this waste, fraud, and abuse. So educators are taking this to the ballot this year through a citizens initiative.
So what is the cap proposal?
I believe it's around $175,000 a year that a family makes. If they make more than that, then they could not qualify for the program.
Which seems pretty reasonable for a family. Not any family makes that kind of money.
It is very reasonable, especially when you think about the fact that a lot of low-income families who were using the school voucher program before, when it only applied to children with disabilities, those families now are having to pay a higher tuition because the program's been opened up to all wealthy families, and the private schools are then jacking up their tuition. So now the lower-income families are already blocked out of the program because they can't pay those higher tuition rates. So if people really want to have school vouchers for the small population of special needs children who might do better in a private school, then they should support this type of reform.
Talking about the other needs in Arizona, it's been reported that over 40% of people has been cut away from the SNAP benefits. It's been a controversy for the last year. So how to respond to that in the legislature?
Well, this is happening because in Congress, Trump and the members of Congress and his party put forward these more unnecessary regulations on food assistance, and it has led to people being kicked off of their food assistance. And in many cases, there are mistakes that are being made where people are kicked off the food assistance even though they actually qualify. So one thing that the governor is proposing is to make sure that the Department of Economic Security has the staff it needs to comply with all of the onerous regulations from the federal government while making sure that they don't accidentally kick anybody off of their food assistance. We also are proposing as Democrats more funding for food banks that are helping to fill in the gap for those families who might no longer qualify for SNAP under Trump's budget proposal. Then those families can then go get the assistance they need from nonprofit organizations like St. Mary's Food Bank or Harvest Compassion Center. So hopefully we're able to pass that type of food assistance in the budget. That's part of the fight that's going on right now.
Okay, another area very important is health. And it's been reported that because of the cuts in the federal budget, at least 8 hospitals in Arizona are doomed to close. Is there any approach in the legislature to cover that possible closures?
It's so unfortunate, and many of these closures are happening in rural Arizona, and I have not heard from any of the rural senators or representatives a plan to address this. In fact, in the Republican budget proposal, there are further cuts to Medicaid, which we also call access here in Arizona. So that means these hospitals are going to be put in an even worse situation because they cannot get the reimbursements when people are going and they typically would have access or Medicaid to pay for their health insurance. So it has bad impacts for everybody, whether you have private insurance or access. So unfortunately, we have to defeat this budget that's currently moving through the legislature because it has further cuts, and we cannot have that happen. We need to have support for those rural hospitals to keep their doors open.
Is Arizona ready for these closures?
Arizona is not ready for these types of closures. It means there's going to be longer wait times at hospitals all over the valley. It means that pregnant mothers might have to drive farther to get their OBGYN appointments. And then when they go into labor, it means people in rural Arizona who have emergencies could be at risk of dying if they have to be in a helicopter in order to get to healthcare instead of being able to go to a nearby hospital. It's a really terrifying prospect. But unfortunately, this is what Juan Ciscomani and David Schweikert in Congress, this is exactly what they voted for. Andy Biggs voted for it as well. It really just boggles my mind. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. Healthcare should be a right.
Talking about another topic, economics. Right now, you can feel it. The community is feeling the impact on their pockets because of high prices of gasoline and also the groceries and also the mortgages and rent. Everything is going up. Is there any proposal to at least help the Arizonans struggling economically.
Yes. Governor Hobbs put in a waiver with the federal government to make sure that we can save a little bit on gas. It's definitely still painful to fill up your car anywhere you are in the valley, but that waiver that she put in, she was able to get it from the federal government in order to save a few cents on gas. We also have proposed bills to stop data centers from jacking up electricity rates. Those bills would essentially ensure that data centers pay their fair share for increases in electricity. Democrats also proposed a bill to make it easier to negotiate with healthcare companies and pharmaceutical companies so that Arizonans can save money on prescription medication. And then our Attorney General, Chris Mays, is doing amazing work to try to save Arizonans money. She took landlords to court for unfairly spiking rent prices and price fixing with other landlords. She won that lawsuit, and she's been able to return money to Arizonans who have been wrongfully paying more rent than they should have been paying. So we are fighting really hard and working to make all of these proposals come to fruition and to encourage our Republican colleagues to give our affordability agenda a movement in the legislature. Unfortunately, many of the bills that I referenced did die because the majority party in the legislature did not want to give them hearings, but we're not going to stop trying to get these bills across the finish line because Arizonans deserve that.
So there's no chance for these bills to pass?
With the electricity bill, the prescription medication bill, we also had a bill on corporate home ownership to stop corporations from owning homes. All three of those bills were killed by Republicans this year. We have not ended the legislative session, so there is still a small chance that we could get some relief for Arizonans in the budget. We are fighting to get free school meals in the budget to continue that program for kids so that parents can save a little extra money by having their children be able to get free meals at school. Last year, we were successful in passing that. That's something we're asking for right now actively in the budget negotiation. We also are actively asking for childcare assistance. We were able to get that last year. Hopefully, we can get our Republican colleagues to agree with us this year that we need to save that childcare assistance in the budget.
Well, I remember Republicans talking about they are the family party, the worker family. So why they don't get into this proposal with you?
It's a very good question. It's something I've asked of my Republican colleagues repeatedly. These are bills that are good for families. They're good for working people. And unfortunately, the bills that we see, Republicans actually act on are bills that benefit billionaires and the wealthiest Arizonans. I continue to press them and to ask them to please do the right thing by Arizona families.
I remember you had this proposal to, in some way, to lower the rents for most of Arizonans who we don't have a house. How did it go?
So unfortunately, my bill that would have banned increasing rent exponentially without a reason, that bill was killed also by Republicans. Governor Hobbs was able to establish a first-time homebuyer assistance program that was able to help about 500 Arizona families get assistance from the state in order to put on a down payment. So that was a very positive thing. We also passed bills to legalize different types of housing like backyard casitas and duplexes and triplexes and townhomes, because those types of homes that are naturally more affordable were actually banned in some Arizona cities. And since those bills were passed, rent has stabilized in Arizona. We've seen the rental market cool off in cities like Glendale, some parts of Phoenix, some parts of Scottsdale. So those are positive changes that have happened, but we definitely have much further to go because it is still so expensive. I pay $1,200 a month for my 2-bedroom apartment in Maryvale, and that is one of the cheapest apartments in Maryvale I could find, and it's just not right. We need to get back to a time when working families could afford a 2-bedroom apartment without having to bust their budget.
Is this cooling of the rent market has to do with a lot of immigrants leaving the state because of ICE and all of these actions?
I have not seen any data that would indicate that that is a factor in this at all. We have been building more homes and more apartments, and that is a contributing factor. When there's more supply and it's able to meet demand, then prices come down. So I have not seen any data to that effect.
Okay. Talking about ICE, you've been very vocal about ICE and their actions. You have been in this new facility in Surprise, which now has stopped all the work. But how would you qualify the movement from the people of Surprise to try to stop that building?
It was incredible. I was watching this happen from the very beginning. First, we heard rumors that an ICE facility was coming to Glendale. Then activists were able to pull the request for proposals from the federal government's public information and found that the facility was actually planned for Surprise. So then we started to organize. We reached out to the city council, to the mayor. What information do you have? I was able to talk to them and learn that this facility was actually in an accident-prone area near Luke Air Force Base, which means if there's a plane crash at Luke Air Force Base, these people detained in the center could be in danger. I relayed that information to the Attorney General. Then we went to the city council meeting where resident after resident after resident spoke in public comment for hours to the city council. There were people of all political parties. There were people of all races, of all ages, of all genders who were pleading to the Surprise City Council, please do not do this. We love Surprise. It's a beautiful community. It is not the place for a detention center where people will die and suffer. And this really was a bipartisan issue. It was not about Republican, Democrat. It was about the residents of Surprise who said this should not be in our town. And unfortunately, the mayor and council did not put this on an agenda in order to take any kind of action. There were many municipalities around the country who've been able to take action or to sue. The city of Surprise did not do that, but Attorney General Chris Mays stepped in to sue. So now this lawsuit is going on, as well as other lawsuits across the country that have paused for now the work of that facility.
Do you have any knowledge why the city of Surprise, the mayor, the council, did not act or listen to their constituents?
Well, there were some city council members who did vocally oppose this. Councilmember Chris Judd also asked a lot of great questions from staff to try to see what they could do. But ultimately, the mayor was publicly saying that he felt it was not Surprise's place to fight this. He said that it was unstoppable. And that was very frustrating because it's just not true. There are other mayors around the country who've stepped up for their residents and stepped up for local control. The federal government did not do any zoning requests with the city. They did not ask for permits from the city. They just came in and said, we're the federal government and we're going to get our way. And from my conversations with most local officials, they don't like that kind of thing. They want to have a say in what goes on in their community. So it's very puzzling that Mayor Sartor did not put up more of a fight. But now we see that the Attorney General stepped in and the power of the people ultimately was more powerful than the mayor saying that he couldn't do anything.
Talking about those detention centers, it's another one to be placed at Marana. And then we have the Eloy and Florence. And just came to my attention that this week, a lot of Democrats in the legislature signed a letter to Todd Lyons in the case of Yari Marquez. I guess you're familiar with that case. Did you sign that letter as well?
Absolutely, I did.
What are you demanding?
We are demanding for Yari Rodriguez Marquez to be released on humanitarian parole. This is a young woman, a member of our community. Her partner lives in my neighborhood. These are our neighbors. And what happened to Yari is that over a year ago, she was detained while coming home from a trip to Puerto Penasco. And she has cancer. She has leukemia. She was detained in Eloy, and her family, herself, they told them she has cancer. She needs treatment. She needs to see specialists. They ignored her. They ignored her. They ignored her until she lost 70 pounds and had to use a walker because she could no longer walk as her body is deteriorating inside of Eloy. This was a year ago. Congresswoman Yasamin Ansari got involved. She's visited her multiple times. Congresswoman Ansari has demanded for her medical records to be released. ICE has been very slow in getting those medical records back to Yari's family and to her doctors on the outside. It is just heartbreaking. They're giving her Tylenol instead of cancer treatment. This is what we say when we say that. These are death camps. More than 50 people have died there. There is no reason that Yari needs to suffer in there. If she needs to sort out her case and go through the legal process, as we are all entitled to, citizen or non-citizen, she can do that on the outside. She's not a threat to society, but they're keeping her in there because every day a person is in there, the private prison industry gets more and more money. And that's what this is about.
How to fight that? How to fight that money making from those corporations jailing? I'm not going to say innocent people, but they're not criminals. Most of those immigrants, they're not criminals. They haven't committed any crime.
Yeah. And in some cases, they are innocent, right? In some cases, we know there have been lawful permanent residents or DACA recipients who were wrongfully detained and kept for a long time. And any time in a detention center is a trauma to that person and to their family. How can we fight this? It's hard, right? It's hard, especially when we have a Congress that just gave historic amounts of money to DHS and ICE to expand their mass deportation in their private prison camps. We need to expose what's happening inside. We need to expose the politicians who are getting money from these private prison industry. And we need to vote those people out of office for their corruption. That's really what it's going to take, as well as continued protests, continued strikes, the people coming together to say we're not going to accept this.
Talking about that, who are these politicians? I know some of them in the legislature, the Arizona legislature, have received some money from these PACs. Among those is Kavanaugh. But can you name them? Can you really assure those politicians are getting money from those corporations?
I do not have the campaign finance reports in front of me right now, but I do know that Senator John Kavanaugh of Fountain Hills absolutely has taken money from Core Civic, one of the private prison operators. I would need to go look at the records to see who else, but there definitely are more legislators. If you're looking at state legislators, the website is seethemoney.az.gov. You can look up anyone. You can look up me. See who's contributing to my campaign. If you're looking at members of Congress, the website is opensecrets.org.
Well, it's been known as well that a lot of Congress people have received money from those corporations, and even Donald Trump in 2024, it was really an open notice. How do you see this 2026 elections here in Arizona?
Well, what we know here in Arizona is that people are fed up. Their pocketbooks are hurting. They're having to choose between paying rent and paying medicine. They're not seeing prices come down the way Trump said. For our Latino community, they are seeing that Trump is not going after violent criminals like he said. He's going after our family members, our coworkers, our neighbors. And people are tired of the lies. So I feel very confident that we are going to be able to reelect Governor Hobbs, Adrian Fontes, and Chris Mays, and that we could win control of the United States House of Representatives by flipping a district down in southern Arizona where Juan Ciscomani is running for re-election against a very well-positioned Democrat, a veteran, a mother. Her name is Joanna Mendoza. And then in Scottsdale area, there's another flippable district, District 1, where there's very intense primary elections for both the Republicans and the Democrats because David Schweikert's not running for re-election. And I think that gives the Democrats an opportunity to win because there's not a candidate with big name ID there. Then the state legislature, we have an opportunity to flip the state Senate and the state House to Democratic control for the first time in 60 years. There's a handful of districts that are very competitive. We need 4 seats in the House, 3 seats in the Senate, and we would be able to have legislators in there who care about making things affordable and fighting for working people.
Talking about that, you're running for re-election. How do you feel about getting re-elected?
I am running for re-election to the Senate. I represent the great people of Maryvale and Glendale. I've been out knocking on doors to talk to my constituents to let them know what I've accomplished in my time as their senator, including securing money for child care assistance, affordable housing, and homelessness services. And my constituents are very proud of the work I've done, and I've received very positive feedback, but they also know that we have so much more work to do, and they trust that I'm the person who will continue fighting and being a voice for our community. I will be so honored to earn the vote again of the people of Maryvale and Glendale, and that's what I'm going to work for.
Okay. Last question will be, why did you were a journalist before, right? Mm-hmm. Why did you decided to go into politics?
Yes. I was a journalist for about 3.5 years, and I was born and raised here in Arizona. I love this state, and I knew that there was so much injustice that existed in this state. I grew up when Sheriff Joe Arpaio was racially profiling Latinos, including at Catholic churches, and I was raised in a very Catholic family. I remember my parents talking to me about that. I also am a daughter of educators, and I saw the way our public schools were being defunded. As a journalist, I worked along the Texas-Mexico border during the 2016 presidential election when candidates were coming to the border and to use our community as a backdrop and then lying about our community and then leaving and not taking time to get to know the beautiful people of the Rio Grande Valley of Texas, many of whom were immigrants. And that ignited a spark in me that maybe I wanted to be doing politics, not just reporting about these stories. And then in 2017, I was working in Vegas when the largest mass shooting in U.S. history happened on the Las Vegas Strip. And I was heartbroken to interview families who had loved ones killed in that shooting. And I knew politicians were not going to do anything because they had again and again done nothing on gun violence. And that was a moment I told myself, I'm going to leave TV and I'm going to get involved in politics. So that's what I did. And I'm just so honored to have had that experience because I think it helped me be a better policymaker, to know all different sides of issues as I had to do and cover when I was a reporter. And now I get to fight for the things I really believe in and use my skills from journalism to help motivate other people to share their stories too.
Analise, ¿quieres decirle algo en español a nuestra comunidad?
Sí, y pues primero, gracias por su paciencia con mi idioma, porque estoy aprendiendo todos los días mi español para practicar y mejorar, pero estoy muy agradecida por su apoyo. Ahorita es un tiempo muy difícil por nuestra gente, pero estoy muy orgullosa de nuestra gente, porque todos los días estamos luchando, estamos trabajando en trabajos esenciales por nuestra comunidad, y nuestra cultura es poderosa, es bonita, y Gracias por su apoyo y espero que yo pueda ganar su voto en estas elecciones y su apoyo por muchos años en el futuro.
Bien, Analise, muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos y bueno, pues suerte en tu campaña de reelección.
Gracias.
Bien, pues así terminamos esta entrevista. Los esperamos en el próximo capítulo de Podcast Prensa Arizona. Mientras tanto, cuídense mucho. Bendiciones. Hasta la próxima.